Kirk, Spock, McCoy. This is where Gene Roddenberry's landmark series Star Trek truly began. Sure, countless spin-offs, movies, and animated series would follow, but this is where we first boarded the Starship Enterprise. Its mission, to explore strange new worlds, seek out new life and new civilizations, and boldly go where no man had gone before. Running for 3 seasons from 1966 to 1969, the original Star Trek gave us the ultimate sci-fi trio, and it introduced us to Klingons, Romulans, green space dancers, and freaky space hippies.
Hey out there. Hey out there.
Beyond the campy aliens and colorful characters, Star Trek shined as Gene Roddenberry's bold, thought-provoking, genuinely hopeful vision of the future. And to its credit, the original series still holds up to this day. Before we dive into my personal favorites, some of which may surprise you, don't forget to drop your own picks in the comment section below. Alright, let's do this. Warp speed ahead into 10 of my favorite episodes from Star Trek the original series.
It's still coming toward us.
Let's kickstart our list with the Corbomite Maneuver, an episode that immediately tosses our heroes into danger.
Radiation increasing. Power astern, half speed.
What starts as a run-in with the glowing space cube quickly escalates into a tense standoff with a massive alien ship commanded by a seemingly all-powerful being known as Baylock.
Fascinating.
As is the case with many Star Trek episodes, the crew here find themselves seemingly outmatched, and you can bet there's a lot more going on than meets the eye.
There is no escape. You have 8 Earth minutes left.
But this no-win scenario actually speaks to their core mission: explore what's out there, regardless of how terrifying it may be.
Assuming we get out of this, Captain.
Nobody's given up yet.
While watching this one, you can tell it was shot earlier in the production run. The sets, the uniforms, and even some of the terminology feels a bit different.
This is the United Earthship Enterprise.
Since the lore was still being hammered out, these little inconsistencies add to the charm. Plus, the episode leans into some dynamic cinematography and camera work, giving it a slightly more experimental feel.
My doctor, you've been reading your textbooks again?
Another aspect that makes the Corbomite Maneuver stand out is just how well it establishes the Enterprise and its crew. We have Spock's logic and reasoning, McCoy's dry skepticism, and Captain Kirk's ability to think on his feet while under insane pressure. And I also have to note, this one has a conclusion that's up there as one of the more unforgettable in the series. One final nerdy deep cut: Baylock, our alien, sort of got his own Mego action figure back in the 70s, except for some reason he was labeled the Keeper. The thing is, the Keeper is actually a completely different alien from the Cage. Why the mix-up? Well, some fans have speculated Mego went with this design because Baylock showed up at the end of the show's credits, making him one of the more recognizable aliens from the show. Or maybe someone in a toy department couldn't tell a difference between one big-headed alien and another. In any case, I'm not saying someone should go to prison over this mix-up, but I'm not ruling that option out either.
Locked onto you, Captain.
Salt. Did ask him about more salt tablets.
I'll take care of the provisioning, Nancy.
Next up on our list, we have The Man Trap. This one was written by acclaimed sci-fi author George Clayton Johnson, whose work includes the novel Logan's Run and classic Twilight Zones such as Nothing in the Dark, A Game of Pool, and A Penny for Your Thoughts. So this one was in good hands.
How do you do, man?
Man Trap is one of the weirder, more horror-tinged episodes in the series. But we'll get to the nightmare fuel soon enough. The story kicks off when our crew visits a remote outpost for a routine medical checkup. The only 2 known inhabitants are Professor Robert Crater and his wife Nancy, who happens to be one of Dr. McCoy's ex-love interests.
Nancy.
In any case, since this is Star Trek, things go sideways. And by that I mean, someone here is very clearly a shape-shifting, salt-sucking vampire.
Quite warm here, isn't it?
Man Trap has a lot going for it. It has an intriguing sci-fi premise, and amidst all the salt-sucking chaos, it even sneaks in a thoughtful take on isolation and loneliness. Another thing that's noticeable here is, since this episode was filmed later in the run, the chemistry between our cast is firing on all cylinders. We even get a great little moment between Spock and Uhura in which she attempts to appeal to his more human side.
Why don't you tell me I'm an attractive young lady? Or ask me if I've ever been in love?
Although she doesn't have much luck. Also, in one of the more memorable moments, we get a hilarious scene between the Doctor and Kirk, in which McCoy is amazed at how Nancy, supposedly, hasn't changed since the last time he saw her.
She hasn't aged a day. There's not a gray hair in her head. She's got some gray bones.
Ultimately, the Man-Trap strikes a perfect balance between sci-fi and horror. And this blending of genres proved Star Trek wasn't afraid to experiment beyond pure sci-fi. And as for the unsettling, salt-addicted alien with a nightmarish suction mouth, well, this monstrosity would go on to become one of the more iconic aliens in the series. Number 8 on my list is a very nostalgic entry for me. Although the official title of this one is Arena, I grew up calling it the one where Kirk fights the lizard monster. A superior title in my opinion. Catching this episode as a kid while staying up past my bedtime and seeing the battle between Captain Kirk and the Gorn was everything a monster-loving kid could ask for. This green, hissing reptilian creature was scary enough to get my attention, but slow-moving enough for me to realize in real life I could probably outrun him. Of course, a key aspect of this episode that flew over my head when I was younger was the anti-war theme and the message of diplomacy over violence. And this episode sets up that dynamic perfectly by showing us a more hot-headed, battle-ready Kirk than we're used to seeing. But Kirk's aggression this time around is understandable. The story opens with the Enterprise being lured into a trap, only to discover a Federation outpost wiped out by the Gorn. And if that wasn't enough, the Gorn also launched an attack on Kirk and his landing party as well. Naturally, after regrouping, Kirk sets off to pursue the hostile Gorn ship. However, before round 2 can pop off, both ships are stopped dead in their tracks by an alien race known as the Metrons.
You are one of 2 crafts which have come into our space on a mission of violence.
They decide to settle this conflict in an unusual way, by forcing the 2 captains into a Mortal Kombat-style duel to the death. Granted, the actual fight between Kirk and the rubbery Gorn is a little goofy by today's standards, but that's exactly why I still love it. And while the fight is probably the most memorable aspect of this one for many fans, the episode's anti-war message is what actually gives it some bite. And now, back to the horror. The next episode on my list is The Devil in the Dark. This is another surprisingly creepy episode I caught at a young age, and it stuck with me for obvious reasons.
Schmitter didn't burn to death, Jim. Not in the usual sense, anyway. Explain. Well, there are only fragments of bone and teeth left.
In this classic entry, the Enterprise investigates a series of deaths at a subterranean mining colony. Turns out the culprit is a disturbing creature known as the Horta. In true horror fashion, the beast uses a strong corrosive substance to vaporize its victims. This eerie monstrosity, which slithers along the ground, always reminded me a little of an overcooked lasagna. And the Horta doesn't mess around. By the time Kirk and crew show up, it's already racked up a kill count that includes 50 dead miners and engineers. Michael Myers himself would approve of those numbers. But what's really great about The Devil in the Dark is it's more than just your Monster of the Week kill fest. This one showcases Star Trek's ability to explore deeper philosophical ideas, even in insane scenarios. And I love that the real challenge here for our crew is mostly figuring out how to resolve this nightmare without being melted into a fine mushy paste. And for a bit of trivia, this episode also marks the first time we'd fully hear a version of Dr. McCoy's most iconic catchphrase.
I'm a doctor, not a bricklayer.
Earth Outpost 4 reports they're under attack. Space vessel, identity unknown.
Pull ahead. All decks, condition red.
Coming in at number 6, we've got Balance of Terror. A tense, edge-of-your-seat episode often described as a submarine-style space battle. And there's good reason for that. The story was inspired by World War II dramas such as The Enemy Below and Run Silent, Run Deep.
What do you have in the intruder?
No identification. No answer to our challenge.
The action kicks off when the Enterprise investigates brutal attacks on Federation outposts along the neutral zone. Before long, Kirk finds himself in a deadly tactical showdown against a Romulan warbird that's fully equipped with a cloaking device.
Full astern.
This episode marks a major moment in Star Trek history. the first appearance of the Romulans, a race that would go on to become long-running foes throughout Star Trek. And when they're seen here for the first time, they leave a lasting impression.
Death and more death. Soon even enough for the Praetor's taste.
The leader of the Romulans is played extremely well by Mark Leonard. He nails this role as a cunning commander who gives Captain Kirk a run for his money.
Stay with him.
However, it should be noted he went on to play Spock's father, Sarek, and he showed up as a Klingon in Star Trek The Motion Picture. And that triple threat casting made Leonard the first actor to portray 3 major alien species in Star Trek. While the story carries the weight of a potential galactic war, it's also a personal showdown between 2 sharp, fearless leaders.
Phasers, fire.
But it's not just Kirk feeling the pressure. Spock ends up catching the heat too after it's revealed just how closely Vulcans resemble Romulans. Yep, just seeing another species with pointy ears is apparently all it takes for Spock to get some side-eye from the crew.
Cryptography is working on it, sir.
Give it to Spock.
Now, keep in mind, this type of subject matter was ballsy for the time. Back then, network TV executives weren't lining up to explore themes of war, much less racial tension or bigotry. But much like The Twilight Zone, Star Trek also used the guise of sci-fi to take on those themes as well.
Leave any bigotry in your quarters. There's no room for it on the bridge. Do I make myself clear?
You do so.
Next on our list, we have one of the Spock-centric episodes, the Galileo 7. This one puts Spock's Vulcan logic to the ultimate test as he takes command for the first time. And he gets put through the ringer here as well.
Being hit by violent radiation on outer hull. Course 3.25.
After crash landing on a hostile planet, Spock and a small team are stranded with no fuel, a damaged shuttle, tempers flaring, and giant murderous cavemen lurking in the shadows.
It's everywhere.
It's all around us.
Somehow it's up to Spock to lead everyone through this nightmare.
I am a logical man, Doctor.
Well, it'll take more than logic to get us out of this.
Now, throughout the series, Spock sometimes filled in the captain chair, but usually Kirk was calling the shots. Here, it's all Spock. And what's fascinating is we get to see what his strict, logical command style looks like in real time.
You follow my orders to the letter, firing only when so instructed and at my designated targets.
Sometimes it works, and other times it makes everyone want to strangle him.
All right, Spock, you have all the answers. What now?
A key aspect of this one I enjoyed was watching Spock learn the hard way rigid logic can't solve every problem, especially when he's dealing with multiple crises and unpredictable natives who never met a visitor they didn't want to stab with a giant spear.
You're running out of time.
I haven't forgotten that, Commissioner.
Meanwhile, back on the Enterprise, Kirk has his own problems. He's juggling a desperate search mission while High Commissioner Ferris, as played by John Crawford, insists they ditch their rescue mission so they can deliver emergency medical supplies instead. And you know Kirk's not having that. In short, this episode is a string of non-stop problems and threats from every angle possible, but what makes this nerve-wracking tale work so well is through it all, you have to root for Spock. Despite his missteps, he just wants to do the best he can and get everyone home safely.
Anytime's a good time.
I'm afraid I changed my mind. Again.
Up next, we have another fan favorite, Mirror Mirror. This episode is essentially Star Trek mashed with Game of Thrones. And much like that series, where you never knew if your favorite character would end up poisoned, stabbed, beheaded, or incinerated by a dragon, Mirror Mirror keeps you on the edge as our heroes are dumped into a hellish scenario where damn near everyone is a red shirt in line to die. The story kicks off when Kirk, McCoy, Uhura, and Scotty are accidentally swapped into an alternate universe after a freak transporter accident. But this isn't just any parallel universe, it's a brutal, backstabbing nightmare where the crew's counterparts are power-hungry maniacs. Climbing the ranks in this universe means plotting assassinations between coffee breaks.
Not on my ship.
And of course, this universe features its own torture chamber, which is exactly as terrible as it sounds. The question quickly becomes, how the hell can Kirk and his crew get out of this one alive? And I think what's truly compelling about this entry is how it shows the entire chain of command is rotten to the core. Hell, even Starfleet itself is referred to here as the Empire.
Your agonizer, please.
No, Mr. Spock! I tried, I really tried.
Perhaps most shocking of all, evil goateed Spock is the most terrifying in this warped universe. Here, his cold, calculating demeanor comes off all the more chilling.
The agony booth is a most effective means of discipline.
It makes sense that this episode was written by Jerome Bixby, a guy who knew a thing or two about tyrants. He also wrote the short story It's a Good Life, which became one of the darkest Twilight Zone episodes ever.
Most curious creature, Captain. Its trilling seems to have a tranquilizing effect on the human nervous system.
We enter our top 3 with one of the most lighthearted episodes in the series, The Trouble with Tribbles. The story kicks off when the Enterprise is sent to Space Station K7 to oversee a shipment of grain. Sounds simple enough, that is until things spiral into wacky territory.
I want all available security guards. I want them posted around the storage compartments.
The storage compartments containing the Quadrotriticale.
The what?
Throughout the episode, we get Kirk trading insults with a Weasley bureaucrat, a shady intergalactic trader hustling everyone in sight, and we even get an over-the-top bar brawl with Klingons. At the center of the madness, the Tribbles. Cute, purring, and multiplying like rabbits on crack. It doesn't take long before the Tribbles are basically everywhere. From the bridge, to the corridors, to Captain Kirk's lunch.
My chicken sandwich and coffee.
These purring little aliens might just be the most gentle, invasive species in sci-fi history.
The nearest thing I can figure out is that they're born pregnant, which seems to be quite a time saver.
But what makes this episode special is it balances the comedy perfectly with political tension. And it never takes itself too seriously.
Aye, they're into the machinery all right.
It's the Constellation.
Number 2 on my list is one of the more intense episodes from the classic series, The Doomsday Machine. Here our crew faces off against the Cosmic Nightmare, a planet-eating monstrosity that would absolutely hang out with Galactus on Saturday night. The Doomsday Machine is hard-hitting, fast-paced, and has an ominous atmosphere from start to finish. Our story is kickstarted when the Enterprise comes upon a devastated system and discovers the USS Constellation has been nearly destroyed.
Look at that.
She may have been wrecked by whatever destroyed these solar systems.
We soon meet the only survivor of the Constellation, Commodore Decker, played brilliantly by William Wyndham.
What happened to your ship, Matt?
A ship attacked that thing.
Fans will likely recognize Wyndham from his iconic appearances in The Twilight Zone and Night Gallery. Wyndham delivers an incredible performance here as the traumatized Decker.
They say there's no devil, Jim. But there is. Right out of hell, I saw it.
What really makes this character work so well is the emotional depth and complexity he brings to the story. At first, it's easy to sympathize with Decker. He's lost his crew and blames himself. But that sympathy gets tested when Decker seizes command of the Enterprise.
Mr. Spock, that will be all. You have been relieved of command. Don't force me to relieve you of duty as well.
With Decker in the captain's chair, he continues his crusade to destroy the Doomsday Machine, thus putting the entire crew in grave danger. Another aspect that makes this episode stand out is beyond the action and suspense, it's also a thoughtful meditation on PTSD, guilt, obsession, and the terrifying legacy of weapons that are too powerful to control. The Doomsday Machine itself almost feels like a relic of Cold War paranoia, an unstoppable force that was built to destroy, which is now unleashed and tearing its way through the universe. A pretty horrifying thought. Alright, before we go to my number 1 pick, here are 5 honorable mentions.
Our intentions are peaceful. Can you understand me?
It appears, Magistrate, that the intelligence of the specimen is shockingly limited.
It has been said that social occasions are only warfare concealed. Many prefer it more honest.
Key in the ignition. Turn the ignition on. And nothing happens. Where's the starter?
And finally, topping my list at number 1 is the legendary episode, The City on the Edge of Forever. Hands down, one of the most unforgettable stories in the original series. This episode hits every note perfectly. Sci-fi, romance, heavy moral dilemmas, and a dose of existential dread.
Bones, no!
After a freak accident involving Dr. McCoy and a mysterious time portal known as the Guardian of Forever, the timeline is shattered, and history has been altered.
All that you knew is gone.
With that, Kirk and Spock travel back to 1930s Earth on a desperate mission to rescue McCoy and restore all of history. You can't ask for a better setup than that.
Excuse us, miss. We didn't mean to trespass.
Once the duo arrives, they cross paths with Edith Keeler, as played by Joan Collins. Here she plays a kind-hearted social worker who runs a local soup kitchen.
I could do with some help around here. Doing dishes, sweeping, general cleaning.
At what rate of payment?
Collins brings a genuine warmth to the role, and she's a true standout in this story.
Now, I don't pretend to tell you how to find happiness and love when every day is just a struggle to survive. But I do insist that you do survive.
Edith is essentially a symbol of hope in these bleak days of the Great Depression. Her belief in peace, compassion, and even a future among the stars mirrors Gene Roddenberry's optimistic vision for humanity.
I find her most uncommon, Mr. Spock.
Needless to say, Edith captures Kirk's heart, and in this case, who can blame him? For William Shatner, this episode was a career highlight. He delivers one of his most grounded and heartfelt performances. And as the story unfolds, the real heartbreak comes from knowing this is a love that can never be.
We can't disguise you. We'll find some way of explaining it.
That should prove interesting.
Leonard Nimoy was great here as always. There's some welcome levity in the episode thanks to the humorous moments between him and Kirk struggling to fit in this era and failing spectacularly. But beyond the laughs, Spock shines here as Kirk's steadfast friend and loyal partner. His calm, logical presence serves as an emotional anchor throughout the story.
You can estimate general happenings from these images, but I can't trace down precise actions at exact moments, Captain. I'm sorry.
Although this award-winning episode was credited solely to sci-fi legend Harlan Ellison, Ellison himself wasn't happy with the final product. His original script was heavily rewritten by D.C. Fontana at Gene Roddenberry's request. But if you're curious what Ellison's unfiltered vision might have looked like on screen, you're in luck.
Behold.
IDW released a 5-issue comic book adaptation based on Ellison's original teleplay. It featured awesome artwork by J.K. Woodward and Juan Ortiz.
Strangely compelling, isn't it?
Ellison's alternate take shares similar beats, it has some significant differences, and it's an intriguing take all on its own.
How careless of your wife to let you go out that way.
What? Oh, yes, it's quite untidy here. Let me help you.
Behind-the-scenes drama aside, The City on the Edge of Forever is widely considered a classic. It's certainly among the finest time travel stories in Star Trek history. But more than that, it's a compelling meditation on fate, sacrifice, and doing the right thing, even when it's painful. Fittingly, this episode is ranked by many as their all-time favorite in the series, and I'm certainly on the same page.
Since before your sun burned hot in space, and before your race was born, I have awaited a question.
So, there we have it. 10 of my personal favorite episodes from the original Star Trek series. Considering how often I've name-dropped Star Trek here in the channel, this video was long overdue. But where could we go to next with Star Trek?
You find my body heat distressing, Captain?
Well, let's just say, although the original series had more than its share of wacky moments, there was also an animated series that took craziness to the next level.
My mind to your mind.
And you can bet that one's on my radar as well. But for now, feel free to drop your own list of favorites from the original series in the comments section below. Let's keep this Star Trek love fest going. And don't worry whether you come in peace or rage like an evil Captain Kirk, it's all fuel for the algorithm. Thanks as always for watching, everyone. Stay safe, be well, and live long and prosper.